There is a moment, you probably remember it, when someone walked into a room and something shifted. Maybe your palms went damp. Maybe your chest felt strange, like your heart was suddenly too large for the space it had always lived in. Maybe you forgot how to arrange your face into something normal. You called it attraction. You called it chemistry. You might have even called it love. But your body had a different name for it. Your body called it a threat. This is the part nobody tells you. The thing your nervous system does when you fall for someone is almost indistinguishable, at a biological level, from the thing it does when it thinks you are about to die. The same chemicals, the same ancient wiring, the same quiet alarm firing in the oldest part of your brain. And the reason this happens is not romantic, it is not poetic, it is a survival story that is at least 400 million years old. Your heart is racing right now because your ancestors almost did not make it. Here is what researchers began to understand in the 1970s and 1980s when they started measuring what actually happens inside the body during early romantic attraction. Psychologist Dorothy Tennov, who spent years documenting what she called limerence, the involuntary state of intense romantic longing, found that the experience shared almost every marker of a stress response: intrusive thoughts, loss of appetite, elevated heart rate, difficulty concentrating, hypersensitivity to stimuli. She was describing something that looked, biologically, far less like joy and far more like danger. Why would your body do that? The answer requires you to go back, a long way back. Your nervous system was not built for modern life. It was shaped by millions of years of a world that was trying to kill your ancestors at every turn: predators in the grass, rival groups over the hill, infection in every cut, starvation one bad season away. The system that kept your ancestors alive was simple and ruthless. When something important happened, something that could mean survival or death, the brain had to respond immediately, fully, and without hesitation. It flooded the body with chemicals designed to make it act fast. That system is still inside you. It has not been updated. Your brain is running ancient software on modern hardware, and it cannot always tell the difference between a lion in the tall grass and the person who just smiled at you across a crowded room. Neuroscientist Helen Fisher spent decades studying the brain during romantic love using fMRI scans, and what she found was striking. When people looked at photographs of someone they were intensely attracted to, the regions of the brain that lit up were not the regions associated with happiness or pleasure in the conventional sense. They were the regions associated with reward-seeking, obsession, and craving. The same circuits that fire in addiction, the same circuits that fire in survival motivation. Fisher described romantic love not as an emotion but as a drive, as fundamental and urgent as hunger or thirst. Your brain does not treat falling in love as a luxury, it treats it as a necessity, and necessities get the full emergency response. Now look at what that response actually does to you. Cortisol rises. This is your primary stress hormone, and studies by psychologist Donatella Marazziti at the University of Pisa confirmed that people in the early stages of romantic love show cortisol levels significantly elevated above baseline. This is the same hormone that spikes when you are in physical danger. It sharpens your attention. It redirects blood away from systems you do not need right now, digestion, for instance, and toward your muscles and your brain. Adrenaline floods in, your heart beats faster, your senses heighten. You become more alert, more reactive, more attuned to tiny signals. You notice every micro-expression on their face. You replay every word they said. Your threat detection system, which evolved to notice the rustle of a predator in the dark, is now locked onto one single person and will not let go. Dopamine surges. This is the molecule of anticipation, the chemical your brain releases not when you get the reward but when you might get it. The uncertainty of early attraction. Do they feel this? Will this become something? What does it mean that they said that? Keeps your dopamine system in a constant state of activation. Your brain is doing what it was built to do in high-stakes situations. It is making you obsessed with the outcome. And here's the piece that connects it all back to survival. Evolutionary anthropologist Robin Dunbar has argued that pair bonding in humans, the deep attachment between two individuals, is, at its core, a survival mechanism. Humans are unusual among primates because human infants are extraordinarily helpless for an extraordinarily long time. A human baby cannot walk, cannot feed itself, cannot regulate its own body temperature, cannot do almost anything for years. For most of human history, a single parent raising a child alone faced very poor odds. Two parents, bonded, cooperative, alert to threats together, changed those odds dramatically. The brain that made you feel like you were dying when you first fell in love was the brain that helped your species survive. The intensity of early attraction is the mechanism your genes use to make sure you pay attention. It is insurance. Your body is behaving as though the stakes of this moment are as high as anything you will ever face, because for the genome inside you they are. Reproduction is the only goal evolution cares about. Everything else is commentary. This is why you cannot simply decide to stop thinking about someone. You cannot logic your way out of obsession. You cannot just choose to eat or sleep normally. These are not weaknesses of character, they are hardware. The system doing this to you was never designed to respond to reason. It was designed to override reason in situations it codes as critical. The ancient part of your brain does not know you live in an apartment with reliable food and no predators. It only knows that something has flagged as maximally important, and it responds accordingly. But here is what makes this stranger still. The stress response your body launches when you fall for someone is not identical to the one it launches when you are in physical danger. It has one crucial difference. When you are genuinely threatened, when a car runs a red light, when a door slams in the dark, the stress response spikes and then falls. It is designed to be short. It resolves. But the stress response that comes with romantic attachment does not resolve in the same way. It recalibrates. It becomes something else. Because alongside the cortisol and the adrenaline, something else is building. Oxytocin, the bonding hormone. Released through touch, through proximity, through shared experience. Oxytocin begins to transform the stress of early attraction into something that functions more like calm certainty. The racing heart slows, eventually. The obsessive rumination softens. What was once alarm begins to become attachment. Your body was never actually preparing to die, it was preparing to bond. The death-adjacent experience of early love is the price of admission for one of the most powerful social bonds your species is capable of forming. Marizidi found that the stress hormones in newly bonded couples return to baseline after roughly 12 to 18 months. The emergency state downregulates once the bond is established. Once your nervous system has decided this person is safe, it releases the emergency protocols and shifts into maintenance mode. What you feel then, comfort, familiarity, steadiness, is a different chemistry entirely. Not dopamine and cortisol, but serotonin and oxytocin. Not urgency, but presence. Most people think love begins with warmth. It does not. It begins with alarm. The warmth comes later, after your brain has processed the emergency, established the bond, and decided that what it found on the other side of that spike in cortisol was worth protecting. Every love story, in biological terms, begins with your oldest survival systems misfiring in the most consequential direction possible. And the next time someone makes your hands go strange and your chest go tight and your brain go somewhere it has not been before, you will know what is actually happening. Your ancestors are placing a bet. Your body is running the same program it ran in the tall grass and the dark caves and the hard winters. It is calling this important. It is calling this worth the alarm. And maybe, in the way that survival always is, it is right.